Hey, welcome back. So somebody pointed out that the video that, not the one that I just finished, but the one before where I was doing the overhead cam was very dark and the lighting was bad. Um, Actually, I think what might have happened is because I was trying to mount the camera up above, I probably hit a button that shut off some the way the camera zooms and manages the lighting, because the lighting in the room has not changed in all the 3 years I've done this. um, so I don't know what happened there, but I probably fiddled and did something. So my apologies there. I actually like this mode a little bit better. Um, the overhead is nice, but this is such a huge game board. I have to like hold it really high, and then everything's so tiny. So, anyways, this I think might be the best of both worlds. The only drawback to this is I have a physical cord running to my device that is uh, multiplexing these two cameras, and that cord is bumping all my components and knocking them out everywhere. But that's neither here nor there. In fact, it just reminded me I knocked over all those Persian units, so I probably need to make sure I check all those again, but we can do those later. Okay, so we got one more, the Amani, or Alani, the Allens. Now, these units are the yellow units, and I'm going to bring them over here. So the yellow player has been napping for the 3 hours we've been playing this game. They have yet to do a dang thing. So now they're going to finally get to do something. But they have no idea what they're going to do. So these guys need to go all the way over to Spain, which is crazy. Now, where are they located? They are located over here in basically the Russian area, and that's a long migration they need to do. So my thoughts are they might be better off trying to take the same path as the Ostrogoths and Visigoths, or I guess the Persian player could just use them to, basically try to beat up um, the Byzantines from a different angle. I don't know which one is more fun or whatnot. Um, I just realized something. I was trying to control Sarmatia here, and the Byzantines have a province in Sarmatia. I think Bosporus is considered a part of. Oh, come on. So that means they needed to take out that fort and siege that city. So they don't actually control Sarmatia. Well, that stinks. Okay. Let me check the rule book, make sure, because they do list the different provinces, which is nice. Yep, Bosporus is considered one of the provinces of Sarmatia. So it's the only one that has a city. So that means that the Byzantine Empire has control over it because they control the city. Therefore, they control the area. That changes things. Well, first of all, I got to take points away. So the Ostrogoths didn't get +8 points, they got +4. So 1, 2. So they got 11 points. The Visigoths got 4. I forgot to mark them up too, because they took out 2 units twice. They did take out the city, but they don't get points for that. They got money for it. So they got 4 points, and I'm going to just give 1 point to the Visigoths. I'm writing in pen and I have it all screwed up and I used up all my space. So the points are there. I took 4 points away out of the 8, and I probably would have, with the Ostrogoths, come in and tried to punch through Italy, but that's okay. Getting 4 points wasn't that great. So as you can see here, they need to go all the way over to Hispania, and then as far as victory points go, in the early turns, they are looking at each Byzantine, Frank, Hun, Roman, or Visigoth eliminated. 3 points if they're under a federati, which they may want to do. Let's think about that. And by turn 6, they need to be at Hispalensis for 8 points, or one of both of Aquitania, Cartaquensis, or Carpetania, Liger. Those are all over here. I'm pretty sure those are all over here. Maybe they're all over here. Why aren't they here? Carpetania. Where the heck is Carpetania? And Liger. Oh, right here, Carpetania. So yeah, they need to get there by turn 6. Now, if I, so the yellow player does have the ability to form a federation. Now, if they do, the yellow player has to give up territory that's adjacent to where the horde is, and the horde's way up there, and the yellow player actually doesn't have territory up there, so actually nothing can happen there. I think what they're going to do is we're going to migrate, and we're going to try to get all the way over and bust through Italy and get to Spain. Just like, now that means that they're fighting with the Visigoths for Spanish territory. That part is true. And in fact, they're fighting for almost the exact same territory. So they got to be careful, because if they march, I mean, they could try marching through here, and then they're going to just get attacked by everything that's around them. But either way, they could basically pincer the Byzantine Empire, because they're part of the Persian player. So what we're going to do is we're going to migrate, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and stop there. And that also would have prevented them from getting points for Sarmatia, because we have 2 hordes in Sarmatia now. And the Rex player does have the ability to do 1 campaign. And he is a nomad player, a nomad barbarian. So he gets a big bonus if he's fighting in the steppe territory, which is where he's at now. But the problem is, in order to take out the Byzantines, like, the only steppe location is here. And that's probably what he would like to do the most. And you know what? He can do it. I mean, the horde player is way back here, but he can go 1, 2, 3 and try to attack that fort. I don't know what good that does him. I mean, he'll get some points, I guess, for killing units. No, he's going to stay with his horde so he can keep migrating them. So horde player will migrate next time. For now, that was a very unexciting turn. And yeah, that's all he gets to do. Okay, so we're done with all those. Now we do the Romans. And the Romans, of course, are just trying to stay alive. They need to get money, they need to get points, they need to heal. So the Romans have the Mauritanians here as a, are they a client? Yes, they are. That's their client, the Mauritanians. So they actually get one of those units as their own. Now, the weird thing about the Romans is that they gave us an extra horse archer that was nope, that's a cataphract. Yeah. So see this little horse archer here? It says it's a Mari. Sorry. See how it says Mari on the right there? That means it's so a client nation gives you a unit to use, and the Byzantines have a client nation, and so does the Romans. The Byzantines, of course, their client nation is the Armenians over here. So this unit it belongs to the Romans. They get to put it somewhere. It's a horse archer, and what's funny is it fights best in a steppe type of climate. But what we're going to do is we'll probably put it we can try to defend Africa with it, or I think it's more important that we try to defend up here. So I'm going to put that there, and that unit will fight along with the rest of the Romans. Okay, so we do have Caesar here. We do have a very powerful army. Can we cross that river and take out the Alamanis, who attacked us however many times and did some decent damage? I think my answer is yes. I mean, we have the Visigoths and other stuff coming towards us, so we sort of want to wipe out as much as we can. If we can take out the Alemanni horde unit, we can force vassalize them, just like what happened with the Ostrogoths. And by force vassalizing them, we get a tribute. And then, of course, we get one of their units to fight for us. So that's the idea. So why don't we do that? I can actually attack from multiple angles here, but I do have stacking limits. And the stacking limit is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But see that +3 on my leader? That means I can add 2 more units. So I'm going to attack with everything I got. It is across a river. At least most of my units are across a river. They don't specify what happens when one set of units is not crossing a river. But the horde is defending, so we're going to count that. And let's move them over here. Okay, so they get 1 for the horde, 1, 2, 3 for everything else. So 4 dice. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But there is a special phase we haven't done yet. We actually have archers. So we have to do what's called the archery phase, and that's brand new. We haven't done that yet. So let's go back and make sure we don't get the rules wrong. Okay, now they could retreat, the Alemanni. They don't have to fight. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know what the strategy is behind retreating, or, like when it's time to hold them or fold them, Kenny, in a tribute to Kenny Rogers here. But let's do the archery round. Okay. Each side gets 1 white die for every 2 archers, and you round up. If you have Frankish infantry, which I think are the Frankie, they throw their axes, and so every 4 of them gives you a die. So they actually, if they're ever in a battle, they get to do archery phase. So A side loses 1 die if its opponent has an enemy advantage. We have, or heavy advantage. We have the heavy advantage, not them. And they don't get a die because they don't have an archer. It's not clear, steppe, or desert. A side may have no dice, like the barbarians. Okay, so we just do this. And then there's like a special rule that if we're in the mountains, there's a possibility for an ambush, but only if there's special mountain units involved. Okay, so we just roll 1 die. And whatever we roll, it hits, and then that unit doesn't participate in the melee combat. And that's a nothing. Now, I cannot use my leader rerolls on an archery phase, so we just continue as normal. So 4 dice for them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for us. Yep. Okay, we crossed a river, so we do lose a die. We are in a forest. If the defender is a non-nomad barbarian, which it is, so we lose another die. Jeez Louise, this is actually not looking good. So the defender gets +1 because they have 1 or more hordes. I may have been doing that wrong in the past, but yes, they got their +1 for the horde. Okay, do we have 2 elites? Yes, we do, and that lets us trade 2 dice for black. That's what the Romans get to do. We have cavalry advantage, yes, so another one gets traded for a black. And Empire versus barbarians, another black. So that's where we get our advantage. We're rolling 4 dice against 4 whites. So I'm going to just roll them all at once and move these a little out of the way. Oh my gosh, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4 misses for them. We got 3 hits, and our leader lets us reroll 3 dice. So I'm going to reroll these 2 because the reds don't count. I'm going to keep that, and I get to roll a 3rd die. Look at that. 2, 4, 6 hits. We just, oh my gosh, the red player just went bonkers. So we got 6 more points here. I don't know how to like get all this in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. I'm just going to give points to the Frankie because they didn't score any this time. 5, 6. So what I'm explaining is I'm using the hashtag marks and I ran out of room. So I just gave 2 points to the Frankie without, I probably should put them in fact, I'm going to put it in the Britons because those are gray just to show it's an overflow section. Okay, so we just went ballistic. 2, 4, 5, 6 hits on them. 1, 2, 3 is all we needed, and then this leader is going to be eliminated, and they're submitting. So well done, Rome. Holy cow! Don't mess with Rome. I think that's the situation where we should have retreated. So the green player controls them, but until Rome collapses, they don't get their independence. So this Roman stack is here, and like I said, all these units are defeated. 2 of them will recover, and the horde token will be with them. The leader does die. He was dead anyways. He's going, he's only good for 1 turn, and then they have to retreat. So we'll retreat them to Bavaria here, and this is where it's interesting because the red player is more than willing to give them the provinces they need to score points if they will be, well, they're a vassal. So as a vassal, they can score points for the red player and score points for the green player. That's a very interesting concept. So they do owe tribute to the Romans. And like I said, I just wish I could figure out how to keep track of this. Because right now they are a vassal. So the Ostrogoths has one vassal or two, just one. And it's the Venidae. So let's figure out a way to write this down in the book. So for the blue pair, the Venidae is a vassal of Ostrogoth. And then for the red player, the Alemanni, vassal of Rome. And yeah, that's a forced submission thing. So well done, Rome. Pays a tribute to them each turn. Yep. And then the Romans actually get a free mercenary from them every time. Okay, well, the Caesar is not done. We get to move all of our units. It's not just that one, but that's what I did. So now he actually can do 3 campaigns. So we can go 1, 2, and then 3 here to retake the city. And they could try to stop us, but they're going to retreat because that makes sense. We already learned our lesson there. Now, he does have to retake the city, though. So we're going to roll for retaking the city. And I rolled a 6. Now, we're going to get different modifiers here because of Rome. And the city is already looted. So I don't think we get to loot it again. But here we go. It is a civilized besieger, so that 6 becomes a 7. So +1. The besieged is not in decline. The wall value is still a -2. So that's a 5. We failed. Okay, so now we got to try. He lets us have 3 rerolls. So this is 1, 2, 7, 6, 5, +1 is 6, and 3. There it is. So we got the city back. I don't know what happens to the pillage token because it was pillaged by them, and then now we're getting it back. I guess you can't unpillage it. A looted city brings only half income to its new controller. It doesn't say what happens when multiple controllers take it over. Like, can you pillage it more than once? Oh, and by the way, that dice event, it does say in the rulebook, it specifically says if you get the dice event, you can save it for later. So that part's cool. Here we go. The city cannot be looted again until the marker is removed. At the end of the next nation's, end of its nation's next income step. All right, so we relieve the city, and then now I got to decide: am I going to cross the river and try to take on even more barbarians? And I think my answer is no. I'm going to just stay right there with my big mega stack. But although that Caesar will die, he's a pretty badass Caesar. I'm sure I'm going to get a crappy one next time. So now is the time. But if I do try to attack, all that's gonna happen is, first of all, I'm attacking a barbarian territory, which does give me penalties, and then they could just retreat, and they would if I were them. And since I'm playing all sides, I am. So I think that's it for Rome. We basically beat back everybody. We held our territory. I'm good with that. Okay, so next up is Persia. What are we at for time? 25 minutes. Okay, so with Persia, we do have to do a quick check because I knocked over all these pieces. Those big stacks there. Basically, Assyria, Atropatene, and Chaldea have 7, 5, and 1 respectively. So here's Atropatene. Chaldea has 1. This one should have 7 outside of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we did it right. Okay. The Persians are the ones I'm the most nervous about. I don't know if they can defeat the Byzantines or not with these stacks of troops. They do have really nice stacks of troops, yes. But there is a Caesar here, and he tends to have the heavy advantage. Maybe not the cavalry, though. And the Armenians are also on, well, they're neutral, but they will defend themselves as if they were Byzantines if they try to go through the Armenians. And as you can see, there's cities everywhere. Amida, I don't think has anybody on it, so the Persians would have to take Amida before they can move forward. Like, this city here is not controlled by anybody. Now, there is a thing in the game where nope, Amida is controlled by 3 Limitus and 3 in Orient: Amida, Kol, Syria, and Osrion. So this one is Amida, and in fact all these troops are in Amida. So that was also knocked over, apparently. Okay, that changes the landscape a little bit. So we're actually we're right next to each other here. Big battle. So you can't double stack it. Like, they can't attack with this one and attack with that one and get like double the armies. It's always a stacking limit. And then you can do the passage through thing, where if you have more troops than them, you can move these ones through, but these stop it. So you can't necessarily do that either. You could try to at least force them to intercept, so this thing is its own separate battle, and then get that destroyed. It is an option. As far as Mesopotamia is concerned, the line, I know it's really hard to see, but the line goes up right here. So they have full control of Mesopotamia. This is part of Orion, which is the the Israel area and Syria. I honestly don't know what the right strategy is here for Persia. I want to attack because that's just what I want to do. So let's do it. So these 7 are going to go up against these guys. And then at the same time, these guys are going to move into here, and they can't get intercepted unless the Byzantines want to. Well, they can get intercepted by 1 unit here, which I don't think is a good recommendation. But they could. Since there's no leader, I'm not sure that's a good idea. So that's what I would do. I would move those in, and then I would take all of these onesies that we see here, and I can do a stack of 4. And in fact, I don't even know how I have a stack of 5 here because there's a stacking limit rule. So I can only move 4 into there, which means I would move those 1, 2, there, like that. So now we have, different stacks of units on top of, this big mega battle over here. So that's what I would do with Persia. Persia's sort of got an advantage of they don't have to worry about anybody to their right in this game. If they can bust through and get down into Egypt, that would be pretty interesting. But let's look at Persia's card. I didn't even bother to do that. Like, how are they scoring points in this game? Oh, speaking of which, the Romans ended their turn with 2 diplomacy cards. So those go back into the diplomacy deck, and the Romans get $2 for that. So they're off the schneid. All right, the Persians are going to do the same, so I'm just going to go ahead and give them their money now. But that technically doesn't get to them until the end of their turn. And also, while I'm at it, I don't think the Byzantines are going to use their card. No, definitely not. So Byzantines would get $1 too. But again, end of turn. All right, so Persians. They get victory points for killing things. Each looting marker. Attacking Byzantine Rome with at least 10 units. So I guess the only way you can do that is to have a leader. So they are looking for Egypt, Phoenicia, Syria. Okay, that's the stuff down south. Syria is not, but Egypt is right here below the camera. Syria, I don't even know where Syria is. I mean, I know Syria is here, but I don't see maybe Syria is an actual territory. It's not an area. Like Egyptus. Oh, Egyptus is a territory down here. So, what's the other? Phoenicia and Syria. Oh, Syria's right here. And Phoenicia right here. So they have a very strong desire to go this way and not necessarily towards Constantinople. And that's by turn 3. Also, each of Armenia, Armenia Minor, Assyria, Osroene, and Palestine. So this Armenia, which is this stuff up here. So yes, they want to attack up there as well. What I did was I just gathered my forces, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so that's the Persians. And I guess, we should probably look at the player aid real quick. So give me a second while I do that. The Persian kingdom extends over 2 areas. They get 2 extra income from the Persia Orientalis box, representing the eastern part of the kingdoms not shown on the map. When checking for transition to empire, Persia applies 1 extra D10 modifier. They get +1 per client state. Starting in turn 2, they get elephants. At least one unit must be left to garrison to control each Byzantine province. Control of the Asia, Cappadocia, Orient areas does not grant Persia control of these areas' empty provinces. Ew. So they have to leave a unit behind everywhere they go. Persia has 6 satrapies, garrison infantries. These may attack inside Mesopotamia and Persis only. Oh, those are the ones I was just gathering together and doing something with. They're automatically deployed within their 2 areas at the end of the Persian military phase activation. They displace non-garrison units to adjacent controlled provinces. And if one of their leaders, Cephisphon, is captured by Emperor Lullianus on turn 1, a special peace may be imposed on Persia. Oh, we may not like that. Each time Persia loses its capital, it receives a decline marker and loses 5 victory points. Oh, Ctesiphon, that's not a leader, that's a city. Ctesiphon. Where is that? Oh, that's way down here. So somehow the Byzantines are able to capture this on turn 1. For God's sakes, the Byzantines are here. Oh, they can do a campaign. Never mind. Okay, well let's do some things here. The satrap, or however you pronounce them, these guys are not allowed to attack outside of Persis, which I don't know where the boundary is, but I'm guessing Armenia is not in Persis. So I'm going to back them off. There's not that many of them. Let's do this one first. There's nobody intercepting here, so we're going to roll for the fort. And they do roll an even, so that means the Persia takes a hit. And it'll recover. Whatever took the hit does recover. But Persia, the Byzantines get a point, is what I'm trying to say. So 1 point for them. And then the Persians are going to try to take that city. So we're going to roll. A 3 is not going to do it. So I'm not even going to check the modifiers. They're not going to win that one. Okay, so now we're going to do this big battle here. So in this corner, we have Caesar with a fort. And in this corner, we have 100 Persian troops. And that is a satraps, which cannot leave Mesopotamia. So I got to put that back. And this one has to also go back. Same with that one. So I'm going to assume that we can use these guys to, defend the various areas here. And I will just borrow one of these. So that little horse archer, for example. I'm guaranteeing he probably had enough movement points to make it there. So we got to do an archery phase first. Well, no, yes, we do an archery phase first. There's one archer here. And the Romans have one. So one for each of them. And oh, so many books and rules. Closing all this out. Moving back to the archery phase. All right, so they each get 1 die. A side loses a die if the opponent has heavy advantage. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 heavies. to 1 2 heavies. And you need to have more than 2 heavies, 2 more heavies than the opponent, which they don't. So they're both going to roll. Let's roll for the Persians first. That's a hit. And then for the Romans or Byzantine, that's also a hit. And this is on the step. So do the horse archers get any bonuses on the step? Just checking. If it's a step, each side can trade 1 white die for a black for every 2 horse archers it has. So it is rounding up. So this, because they have horse archer here, this becomes a black die. So I'll just re-roll for them. So it's 1 hit here, but that is 2 hits on them. So I'm going to go ahead and damage. So basically, the infantry goes down. I'm sorry, the archer goes down. I'm just concerned because that makes me lose a die. If I just take one of my elite units and flip it over, then I still get a die for that guy. I don't lose a heavy bonus. In fact, I don't even lose a cavalry bonus. So yeah, I'm good with that. So I'll do that, and then these guys have to take 2 hits. So that's a big deal. And their problem is like, for example, that's an elite unit, so he can take a hit. But if they damage one of their other elite units, then we may start to get an advantage on them. But I think that's what they're going to have to do, of course, for the same reason. They don't want to lose dice yet. So we'll do that. Okay, so this battle's in Amida, so every unit gets a white die. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 7 to 4. I don't know how on earth this guy's going to take it in 1 turn. Okay. The attackers lose 1 if it's a marsh. If they cross a straight river or ridge, none of that happened. If it's a forest and it's a barbarian, they get +1 if they're a barbarian attacker and a barbarian province. Nope. So defender gets +1 if it's a fortified city. Defender gets +1 if Elymas is there. There's no barbarians. Dice trades. So, do you have 2 or more elites? So for the Persians, they don't have 2 or more elites. That was the part where the 2 hits really hurt them. Now, these guys, we have 4 elites. And Byzantium with 4 elites gets to do 2 trades. So 2 of these become black. Cavalry advantage. Neither has a cavalry advantage. They have 2 cavalry to 1, but you need to have an advantage of at least 2. No empire versus barbarians. No nomads in the steppe. Fortified city for empire only. So actually, the Byzantines are suddenly looking good. And off we go. All right, so I'm going to put these dice off to the side. Let's roll for the Persians. So I have 2 hits for the Persians and a whole bunch of blanks. So let's roll for the Romans, or the Byzantines. And these were all Byzantine here. So right now we're currently at 4 hits for the Byzantines. The Byzantines are getting pretty lucky. Okay, the Persians are the attackers. And Mr. Sopor here has 2 dice that we can I'm sorry, it's up here. We get to reroll 2 dice. So he's going to choose that they have to reroll this one. And he's going to choose, well, let's just see how this one turns out. So we rolled a double. So he's going to choose that they reroll it again. And that's more like it for him. All right, but the thing is Caesar here lets us reroll 1. So we're going to roll it again. And so we get a hit. So their leader is actually better than the Byzantine leader. No matter what, this gets destroyed. And then basically they apply 2 hits. So we're going to go ahead and lose 2 units, I think. Yes. And then we're going to apply 3 hits. And this is where it gets bad for them because they're running out of elites and all kinds of stuff. So they're going to go ahead and hit their elite unit. And then they're going to lose these 2. So they lost 2 units. And they lost 2 units. So 2 points for each. So 2 points for the Byzantines and 2 for the Persians. All right. Who's the victor? Well, the victor it's a tie. So then the victor is the leader with the better combat bonus, and that would be the Persians. So the Byzantines lost. So we're going to have to retreat, but we do get both of these units back, and then we get to flip one over. So they are back to full strength at least, and they're going to retreat to here, to this one, like so. And then this particular city is under siege. And the Persians, of course, they get their 2 units back. They are not an empire, so they don't get to flip one over. They're just a kingdom. Nope, I'm sorry. That's for a civilized nation. It doesn't matter if they're an empire. So they do get to flip one back. And what you're always looking for is these empty little diamonds. So we're going to go ahead and flip that one back. They're still more damaged than the Byzantines at the moment. Okay, so they got to try to siege this town. It has a defense of 2. They could choose to hurt 2 of their units to get a +1. I've been very reluctant to do that so far, so let's go ahead and roll. I rolled a perfect 10. Oh my gosh. I think that's going to be enough, but let me check. I don't think you can lose with that. So it's a civilized besieger, so that's an 11. The wall value makes it a 9. Yeah, that's it. It's not a coastal city. So they actually they did it. Now the question is, do they want to loot the city? They get to, it's a level 1. So they want to control the city for its income, but income for kingdoms, the cities don't matter, so they're going to loot it. And they got a 2. So they get 4 gold for that. So 2, 3, 4, they're up to 15. And the rules do say that if they get up to 20 and gain more, they don't get any more. Okay, so this little guy has 2 campaigns in him, so he can keep attacking 2 more times. And so he could try to take on the Byzantines again, but this time it would be over water. These guys lost, so they have to retreat. And they're going to have to retreat all the way back to Medea. But what we can do, though, is we can go a different direction. So I'm going to leave these units out because they're going to stay here and fight. They're currently in Amida, right? They took the city over. In order for them to have control over it, they're going to have to keep units there. So that's a little bit of an issue. Oh, anytime a unit enters Mesopotamia or Persis, the Persians get a free unit of their choice every time. There's a lot of stuff to keep track of with this. At least one unit must be left as a garrison to control each Byzantine province. Asia, Cappadocia, or Orient areas does not grant Persia. So they do have to leave units behind to control that city. And the problem is you have to do your movement before you resolve combat. So if he does a campaign, he'll have to leave a unit behind. So I'm going to just leave one unit behind, right, to control that city. The problem is the Byzantines are going to come and take it right back. So you know what? We're just going to enjoy the fact that we looted it and it's on fire, and then we're going to abandon it because we can't hold the city unless I want to keep all my troops there. But what we're going to do is all of our units, I'm leaving them here, and what they're going to do is they're going to march. And we're going to go and try to take the Armenian capital, which is this one here. So we're going to go there and we're going to try to steal this client away from the Byzantines. And then, of course, they will try to intercept, and I'm going to roll a die, and the intercept is successful. It would have been actually really hard for them not to succeed. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and... So the Colchi here are actually controlled by the Persians. Well, they're not controlled. They're a neutral. They're not a client. And then these Hyberes are... gosh, who are they with? Oh, that's also with Persia. And they are the client of Persia, I believe. So, yes, we're going to try to take Armenia here. And Armenia is 3 units strong. And see these are mountaineer units, and we are fighting in a mountain territory. So some nastiness is going to happen here. But let's take it one step at a time. Okay, archery round. As you can see here, there's one archery unit and it has the mountain symbol. They have 1, 2 archery units. And so you only get 1 white die for each 2. So they would both get 1. But this is where it gets interesting. The mountain ambush. The defender can do what's called an ambush archery round. No ambush can take place if the attacking leader has a mountain icon. And the leader does not have a mountain icon. The ambush is automatic if the attacker crossed a ridge or a river. That is, they crossed a ridge. So it's automatic. Otherwise, you have to do a D2 check. So in the mountain ambush, mountaineer units bearing a mountain icon count as double. So this counts as 2, but it's still just 1 die. So as much as that sounds great, but the other advantage is they get to roll first and apply the hits before they ever get to roll. So let's do that. So they do get, I believe, the red die. I looked this up 100 times. Why don't I remember? The red die counts clear, steppe, or desert. Okay, so the red die doesn't count. So they did 1 hit to the Persians, but we get to apply that hit anywhere. Gonna go ahead and take that out. Nope. It doesn't matter which one. So I take out the archer, okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead and roll for, and it went way back here, and it's a 1 hit on them, and they're gonna go ahead, they actually have a heavy bonus. So with the heavy bonus, they lose a die. They don't get to roll because they have 2 heavies. But they don't have the bonus, so they don't have 2 more heavies then. All right, so they take a hit. Do we dare to do this? They lose a die if they do this one. If they do that one, they lose their elite. Okay, they're going to go ahead and take the hit there. So there's 3 white dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the yellow. Okay, there's no marsh. They did cross a ridge. So they lose a die for crossing a ridge. There is a fortified city, so +1. Oh, almost forgot. There's points scored. So the red, whatchamacallits, what are they? The Armenians. They're called the Kosanis? Nope. They're a minor kingdom. They don't get victory points. So, okay, so no points for you. All right, keep going. So, do they have 2 elites? There's 1, and this one has none. So nothing happens there. Cavalry advantage. They have cavalry, they have none, so one of these turns black. Fortified city is for empire only. So, nope, they don't get to upgrade their dice, so here we go. So these are the attacker, and this was our roll. And then these are the defender. So they did 2 hits as a defender. Okay, so we get to reroll 2 dice. We want to do more hits. We got to do at least 3. And there we go. We got the 3, which will take all 3 of them out. So now we're going to make them reroll one of theirs to try to do less hits. And it didn't work. So we do take all 3 of them out, right? 1, 2, whoa, that's 2, and that's 3. So the Armenians will get to keep 2 of their units for future. So I'm going to put 2 units here, right? And then 2 hits on these guys. We're going to hit the elite, and then take that one out. But then we get both of these units back, and then one of the elites gets to come back. So although we do have some elites here that could come back, it's just we're always taking damage. All right, so we have to siege the city. If we can take the city, then it is a capital city for them. It's not a capital city of an empire, though. It's just a neutral. Let me check. It's not a kingdom's capital. It's still just a neutral. But is it a neutral kingdom? It's a client state, really. So we do get to loot it, and I think the biggest thing is we're going to force them to become a client. So it's basically we're forcing them to be a submissive. Yeah, we're going to force them into vassalage. So they're submitting a kingdom. Kingdom must be reduced to no more than 3 provinces, and its capital must be conquered and looted. If the kingdom has no capital, like the Escaldon Kingdom, the kingdom leader and its stack must be eliminated instead. When the kingdom submits, the suzerain must immediately evacuate from the capital province, if any, and any other provinces where the suzerain had battles awaiting resolution. When a horde submits, the suzerain must immediately evacuate, retreat from the horde's province, and any other provinces where the suzerain had battles waiting. Okay, so what that meant, and the reason why I read that, is when this guy submitted, they get to stay where they're at, right? So we had to retreat, and the same goes with, these guys, but that's okay. Those guys are okay. We got them situated fine. It's over here. So the Armenians, we will have to retreat if we can't take this capital. So this is where it actually sort of might be nice to take the 2 damage, but I get 2 die rolls, or 2 re-rolls, so let's go. That's a 6. That's not going to do it. They give a -2. We get a +1 because we're civilized. And that's it. So in order to get a 7, we need to roll an 8. So 2 re-rolls. There's a 6. That's 1. And that's 2. We failed. So we have to retreat. Now, the Armenians are away. So what we're going to do now is we get 1 more campaign, right? Because we actually get 2. We're going to go after the capital again. So the Armenians have 2 units, and they're going to go through an archery phase with us. So they'll get to roll 1, and since they're in the mountains, they're going to ambush us. So they miss, and then we get to roll 1, and we miss. And then they get to roll 2. Both are misses. They do get 1 more because they have a fortified city, which is a hit. And we're going to get to roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dice. And then we're going to be able to upgrade 1 because we have cavalry. And we'd be able to cancel 1 of theirs because we have the heavy. Nope, we don't have the heavy. So then roll this. And we got 1 hit. And then I would re-roll 1 of these. And 1 of these. So we only did 1 hit on them. It's still enough to make them retreat because we would have eliminated 1 of their units. And actually that scores another points for the Persians. So they're up to 3 points now. Sorry, I'm going a little bit quicker here. But what I'm trying to do is we're trying to siege that city a second time. And then, so what happened was these 2 units that recovered went and tried to help defend the city, but they lost 1 unit, right? Because they took a hit. Actually, they didn't. Well, it doesn't matter because even if there was a tie where neither side took a hit, the yellow side has the better leader. So the leader would have won. Now, these guys don't get to recover anybody, but they do get to flip 1 of their elite units back over. Okay, so here we go again. Need an 8. And there it is, a 10. So they're going to pillage size 1 city. And they got 1 extra gold and event 56, whatever that is. So we're going to put a pillage marker there. The only disadvantage to what just happened is we are now out of movement points and we are sitting up here in Armenia. Oh, actually, no, because they force us to do a retreat. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 and retreat back to the city we just took. So the Armenians are now a vassal to yellow. So I'm going to put down Armenia. We're really their client. So they're now a client to yellow. And, well, no, they're a vassal. they're a vassal, not a client. I don't know. We'll have to look up like how they behave differently. I mean, because they were a client to Byzantine. I would assume they're not a client anymore. Oh, so many rules. This diplomacy phase, the whole client and stuff like that, it's not very fun. It may be thematic, but it's not very fun. So, independent kingdoms, whether inactive or not, can become clients of an active kingdom or empire, their patron. In exchange for paying tribute and lending a mercenary, the client retains its independence and assures the patron's neutrality. They never attack. If the capital is conquered by a civilized nation, it submits, not as a vassal, but as a client. Barbarian conquer submits the kingdom normally as a vassal. So yes, they are a client now of Persia. See, it's so confusing. So that means their tribute of $2 now goes to Persia. Okay, so that was a lot. Where are we doing on time? All right, well, thanks for watching. Stay awesome. Last but not least is the Byzantine, and then that would wrap up the first turn of the game. And I don't know how on earth we're going to get through 12. This is not even with all the kingdoms on the board. This is insanity. This game, I guess I feel some sense of pride that I own an insane game like this. I think that with 4 human players, it could maybe go a little quicker, but maybe not. You know, you're going to have that guy looking at his cell phone, another guy who's arguing over the rules. This is an insane game. I mean, I guess I feel a little bit better that I'm moving through it, because when I first read these rules, I was like, holy buckets, I'm never going to know this game. Okay, well, have a good night. I think this might be the last one for today. And thanks for watching. Stay awesome. Byzantines, what's left?